Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We are back as we're going to steer you through, of course, to Nottingham Forest to come on Sunday at the City Ground. Billed as a fixture where there now seems to be a lot of animosity between the two clubs, despite a lot of or some of the key characters departing as we get ready for this fixture. But I've got key characters, big characters with me for this show, back alongside us, reclining, looking very much forward to the ride. Jar Wobble is back on the show, as is Ash over at Spurs Kings, and of course Lubo from the Spurs 5 as we build up to Forest to come. Look, lots to discuss on this show. The news that's developing as we're on air right now is that we are expecting the departure of the Tottenham Hotspur first team coach, the assistant, Matt Wells. He looks like he's likely to leave the club, and that is a developing story that will bring you live on this show as we do go. There is also suggestions in this last 24, 48 hours that potentially Tottenham Hotspur's goal scorer in the Europa League final match winner, Brennan Johnson, is he going to be on the move in this upcoming January transfer window? We understand that Crystal Palace have registered an interest and would love to take him to Selhurst Park. As ever with Tottenham, news never stops despite the departure of Daniel Levy, and there has been reportedly an investigation launched to look back at Daniel Levy's tenure at the football club, and that will be intriguing to get the guys' thoughts on that and what they make of those rumours and reports. It doesn't stop there. We have had an update from Thomas Frank in regards to Dominic Solanke, after Dominic Solanke confirmed on social media with an hourglass appearing to indicate he's going to be back soon. We understand Dominic Solanke is now back on the grass, but as things stand, no definitive return date launched for Dominic Solanke. And of course, Forest to come, two friends in the dugout, Sean Dyche up against Thomas Frank. It was at one point going to be billed to be Ange Postecoglou's long-awaited return to face Tottenham, but that was, of course, no more. Alongside me, this wonderful panel, Lubo, lovely to be back on the show. How are you first? Are you well?
All good, thanks. Pleased to be back. Looking forward to the weekend.
Lovely to be back alongside. We've got you double over the weekend. We are blessed. Let's open with that news, Lubo, if we can, around Matty Wells, because this person is seen as really one of the key figureheads for Tottenham, certainly from a coaching perspective. We know Tottenham really did want to keep hold of Matty Wells. He was seen as one of the most rising, upcoming young coaches. He currently serves, of course, on the staff with Thomas Frank. He has built a varied coaching resume across several top-level environments. Spent time, of course, also on Scott Parker's staff as well, adding to further experience to his coaching profile. But it looks like he is set to join, as we record right now, the Colorado Rapids. I'm not going to ask you, Lubo, for expert analysis on his resume and what you think about him in general, but is that a big blow for the club to lose an integral coaching staff member halfway through the season?
Probably. He's been very highly rated by the club for a while. And the problem is that with these talented guys, they're looking to be number one. Unless you're someone like a Jason Tindall, who's gone everywhere with Eddie Howe, and they're part of a team, it's different for Matty Wells, isn't it? They've obviously offered him a very good deal for him to uproot himself, get over to the States. It's obviously, the money must be pretty good. And he probably looks at it and thinks to himself, do you know what, for my future development as a coach stroke manager, I'm going to be the number one man here. So I'll take it. I'll go for it.
It's interesting. I mean, Ash Carrera, you were joking in the back room saying that might now mean a promotion for, of course, Justin Cochrane, who's been working alongside Thomas Frank. I mean, I'll ask you the same question. How disruptive is that to lose such an influential coach halfway through the season when we actually saw, I think in pre-season, the individual work he was doing with Xavi Simons and a number of the players, very well liked, very well respected. How big a blow is that to lose an influential coaching staff member nearly halfway through the season for you, Ash?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it as half glass empty or half glass full. I think when he came across that coaching role and he got promoted, he's done a very good job. But I felt like he was the bridge between what Brentford's for, Thomas Frank coming over was, because he knew the club inside out. So he needed someone to kind of let him know the the run-ins, the daily run-ins, how Spurs operate, what the fan base are like as well, what they expect, what they demand. And I think that he made that transition for Thomas Frank a lot more smoother, in my opinion. And a lot of the players, from what I can see, and you've already mentioned it, he's well respected by them. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and he knows what it was to work with previous managers and Ange Postecoglou. He would have known what the issues were, so he was able to kind of like relay that onto Thomas Frank. But now, like, you've seen how big the coaching staff is there. We've just seen a actual image there. It's about at least 6 to 7 coaches there. And so I think this is the time when, as I said, my boy Justin, he can come over. Justin, he's been doing work at Manchester United. He's done work. He's doing work for England at the moment with Thomas Tuchel, who's got very similar tactical approaches as Thomas Frank. And so I think that I just think it's a smooth transition, if I'm being totally honest. And I hope, obviously, he goes on and he does great things in his new career as a head coach over in the MLS. But to be honest, we saw it happen with Ange's first coach. Ange had a coach in Chris Davies. He lost him. But some might argue when we lost Chris Davies, that's when we started going downhill a little bit. So I do understand some of the concerns with the handover, losing one of your key members of staff halfway through the season. It's not ideal, is it? Like, let's be honest, it's not ideal. I'm really happy with Justin, and he comes across really well, and the attacking phases, which is more important. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah. Jar, loves to be back on the show, mate. Feels like it's been absolute ages. Just to get your expert opinion on that as well, bless you, with all your years watching this football club and seeing changes, but of course around players and coaching staff. How much a blow do you think that is, Jar, to lose somebody that is well respected for the club, and also, of course, for Thomas Frank in that backroom staff?
I hope you can hear me, because I've got that's great, because you're cutting in and out a bit, you lot. I hope it calms down. It drives me mad. I always have bad luck with connections with Wi-Fi everywhere I go in the bloody world. But I thought Cochrane was the number 2 anyway. So in the chain of command. So obviously, I guess that now he will be. I'd heard Matty Wells. I heard his name and heard he was well respected. But I thought Cochrane was the assistant to Thomas Frank anyway. And I know Cochrane's very well regarded. And, you know, if someone wants to leave, okay, they're going to leave. It's going to be good money, I would have thought, in America. You're going to have a great lifestyle over there, you know, I can imagine, which is a big thing. And maybe he's thinking, but I'm not Thomas Frank's man. This is football, isn't it? You know, academy level, at senior level, you know, people bring their own people in, and you know, if you belong to the last regime rather than this one, when you get an offer, and if that wasn't the case, if it was somebody at Liverpool, would the assistant coach at Liverpool leave to go to the MLS? Probably not. You know, generally wouldn't happen, because you're at a great football club, and you're how can you drag yourself away from the high drama and the excitement and the possibility of winning major trophies? So, you know, it might be political, large P, small p, but no, it's not the end of the world, is it? Thomas Frank's a smart guy. There's some kind of network there of coaches and inter-department communication that there wasn't under the Australian, under Ange. You know, the comms at the club have always been bad anyway, and he just kind of added to that. Under Thomas Frank and the new director, the new guy, the Indian fella, it seems like comms are better generally across the board now, you know, and I'm sure that if Thomas Frank is sensible, they'll find the logical solution quickly. And there's a ton of football coaches out there, good football coaches, you know. So if you want to leave Tottenham, good luck to you, you know. You know, it seems slightly strange to me, but hey, good luck to the bloke, you know. Would you rather be in rainy old depressing England, or would you rather be in America with a nice big motor car, you know, lovely lifestyle? Good luck to him.
What are you charged with keeping him? Jar's most certainly sold him there. Dar230 Regular viewers says, and MLS manager just became the manager of Celtic. It's a good building block. Fun fact, he faces Sonny and the LAFC on April 22nd, and he'll also be managing Rob Holding. So look, we'll bring you more as soon as we get it. And for those that are unaware, Matt Wells, thank you again to MJB THFC 1991. He was named the defensive coach this season. So we will see how that does develop. But as things stands at the moment, he is going to be Tottenham. He
was the defense. Right, I didn't know that. So he was the defensive coach. He's the defensive coach. So he was he the assistant or was he just a defensive coach?
He was one of the assistants, but he was most certainly tasked with, of course, facing the. With, of course, coaching staff. Ash, I'm going to pass over to you because my children have just interrupted this room. Talks about Brennan Johnson potentially move to Crystal Palace. Ash, I'll hand over to you and you tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Brennan Johnson's an interesting one. He's been in Crystal Palace, and we know that Crystal Palace is going to have to leave because of AFCON. He's going to be representing his country over there, so they do need a player. They need a right winger, and I think Brennan Johnson will probably suit that profile. So I wouldn't be surprised if Palace do put a bid in January, and I know they have made contact. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of bid Spurs will accept, if we do accept any. But yeah, I think quite a few of the fan base will be happy with this, including myself. I'll be one of them. I like the guy, nothing against Johnson, but I think you need to sell, because Spurs have had a problem of selling players whilst they're at their peak value. Do you know what I mean? And he was one of our top scorers last season. And to get money where the player is going to have a substantial value, we need to take advantage of that, in my opinion. And if we get anything for 40 million upwards for Brennan Johnson, I think we need to take that, in my personal opinion. And then we could add to whatever area, left wing. Yeah, we could hopefully use that money to help strengthen that particular position. So, yeah, let's see what happens, you know. That's just my overall arching on it. Brennan Johnson, we know that on that right side, in the build-up, in terms of 1v1s, he's not really had the same impact or any impact this season in Frank's system. In Andrew's system, he was on the end of a lot of crosses and he was able to finish. This season, he's been in and out the squad. He hasn't had a run of games where he consistently performed. So I just think, yeah, if that is the case and we're moving in a different direction, why not look for Brennan Johnson to depart if the sale does come apparent?
Ash, thank you so much for that. And just to bring that story in full, Lou, to bring you in on that point. So we understand Brennan Johnson is on Crystal Palace's list of upcoming transfer targets for them as they strengthen their push towards, can you believe this, Champions League qualification. Palace are intent on competing on multiple fronts for the rest of the season. And I honestly have Johnson on a list of a number of wide forward options. Of course, joined Tottenham 2.5 years ago for a fee of 47.5 million. Lesnar has played without Ismail Assar for the last 3 matches after the Senegal winger suffered ankle ligament damage, with a 27-year-old also scheduled to play in the African Cup of Nations in Morocco if he recovers next month. And that is where Palace's interest is coming in on Brennan Johnson. Lubo, limited game time this season for Brennan. Doesn't feel like he's one of Thomas Frank's main men at the moment. How surprising would you be to see Brennan Johnson depart the club in January?
I think if they could get the majority of the money back that they spent on him, I'd be delighted. For me, listen, he's scoring goals is one of the hardest things to do in football, if not the hardest. And he had a knack last season. When he's not scoring, he's not contributing. And that's a major problem. And, you know, what's he going to be? He's going to be a 1 in 3, 1 in 4. So, you know, for 2 or 3 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, he's just not contributing. And for me, we need better. If we're going to challenge, you know, top 4 and higher over the next few years, we need a lot better than Brennan Johnson.
It's going to be interesting to see what the club does do on that point. I mean, if I can bring you in, Jar, on him, I mean, quite interestingly, it's been stated by this report here that whether Palace will be able to buy Johnson will be determined by Spurs' stance on the 24-year-old. and they need to freshen up the squad themselves. Now, we know the club have been linked with Semenyo, who I'm going to come on to in a second. I mean, Jar, gut feeling for you, from what you've seen from Brennan Johnson, have we seen the peak, do you think, under him? And do you feel under Frank there's more to come, or do you feel Frank will be keen to cash in given the limited time he's had this season?
No, I don't think he'll be desperate to get rid of him. You have to remember, he tried to sign Johnson for Brentford.
That's
so
right.
he obviously rates him, and he's not in the team at the moment. It's no big deal. There's a couple of players who are not in the team at the moment. I think he was injured, wasn't he, for the game against Slavia Prague? Is that right?
Yeah. That's
you
right.
know, so he wasn't even on the bench.
That's
I
right,
mean,
yeah.
He's got a goal in him. The jury's out on Johnson. You know, he looks like a real confidence player. There's sometimes he looks petrified to take his man on. What I remember seeing him in the Championship for Nottingham Forest was this blistering pace, and he'd attack the fullback. He had a quick burst of pace on him. With us, he kept bloody turning back. He was afraid. You know, it's the big club thing, isn't it? You know, you're terrified of doing the wrong thing, so you don't want the ball. You keep turning back inside. Even Kulusevski was doing that a lot. So you just keep recycling the ball. And there was one game we were away in a cup against somebody, and he got the ball, and he actually had acres to run into, and it was remarkable. He just wouldn't do it. He just turned back round, waited for reinforcements, you know. So it might be a psychology thing. At the moment, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if he's a Premier League player. He may well be a Championship player, you know. Well, he's funny with the goals he gets. Well, honestly, I don't know. The jury's out. I hope not. I think he seems a nice lad, and I'd love him to succeed. Interesting, he has got a goal. He has got a goal in him. They're not all far post tap-ins. He gets into that area around the penalty spot, and he can finish with both his right and his left foot. So that's something, as Lubo said, to score goals is one of the hardest things in football. So for me, the jury's out. You know, you know, and he's got something. I find Odebear and Tell more of an issue than Johnson, to be honest, because they don't even score goals and they flatter to deceive. Hopefully, they're starting to improve now. And, you know, you've got to trust the process and the gaffer. Rome wasn't built in a day. And sometimes things take time for people to bed in. But those two were more perplexing in terms of recruitment, insofar as, you know, we spent 30 million on both. Why not just go and get bloody Semenyo or somebody for 60? Go and get the finished article for 60, you know. And I think a lot of Spurs fans would agree with me. So that's more of an issue to me than Johnson. Johnson's a funny guy because he kind of fits in a mould that other people don't. I'm not sure. He's not exactly a winger. He's not exactly a striker, but he's you know, he's kind of right-sided. I know he likes playing him on the left, Thomas Frank. I think he's better on the right. And I wonder what it'd be like as a second striker, to be honest. I don't think he's been used in that way yet, you know.
I think the problem is with Johnson is that at the moment, he suits a style of play where if there's space in behind, he becomes useful all of a sudden because he can run in behind whatever fullback there is, or if it's a centre back, he can use his pace to kind of stretch opponents and then get on the end of things or score a goal himself. But where he lacks physicality at times, he does sometimes forget to create separation. Because sometimes as a winger, that's all you need. You just need half a yard to create space to kind of get down a line and find a cross, or get half a yard just to create separation, just to create a shot. But because he's so fascinated or fixated on doing 1v1s, he would either lose the ball, or as you said, JW, you just pass it backwards all the time. So, like, that's his biggest issue.
Ash, he does get in, you're right, Ash. He does get in behind. He's one of the few can get in behind with a purpose and time his runs properly. That's another. I forgot that. That's actually a major thing to forget, because that's another. It's one of the main three ways. His other goals tend to be at the far post from the opposite, crosses from the opposite side, or around the penalty area as it's dragged back. He finished with his left foot.
It just depends on what Frank sees. Like you said, Kulusevski. Does Kulusevski fit in as a number 8 or 10, as we've seen under Ange, or does he kind of frame him? Does he profile him? Does he look at his characteristics similar to what Mbeumo was at Brentford, and maybe he sticks him on the right wing, and so maybe he looks at Kudos and Semenyo as two players that might rotate. One might, and as you said earlier, you said Kudus could play centrally at times, and then you've got Kulusevski on the right, and then vice versa, where you have Kulusevski central, and then you've got Kudus on the right wing. Do you know what I mean? So maybe he's looking at those two profiles and says, Johnson, maybe for a possession-based team where we're not going to have a lot of counter-attacking moments unless it's against the big four or the big six, against the rest of the league, some of those teams are going to be trying to hit the low block. Yeah. Can Johnson be effective against a low block? Yeah. And as you guys already mentioned, he doesn't do quite much in that position. If he's not scoring goals, he doesn't really contribute. Lubo said that already.
Actually, we rarely see that burst of pace. It's very rare. You know, so is it a confidence thing? I don't know. Is he not sure where he should be playing? You just don't see it. You know, I remember watching him against Arsenal when Forest beat them in the FA Cup. Yeah, he was tearing him a strip down that wing. Just haven't seen it at Spurs.
Lubo, you said earlier that you would love to see the club try and get Brennan Johnson. I mean, realistically, can you see us trying to recoup the 47.5 million we spent on him? Is that realistic? I can't see Palace spending anywhere near that. Can you?
No, but if you add money and go after someone like Adam Walton, or try and do a deal for the end of the season, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It must be clear this report is suggesting that the reason why they're targeting Johnson would be as a fill-in for Ismail Assar because he'll be going off to the AFCON. So look, I do think, I don't know if you agree, because we're going to come on to Semenyo in a second. I do think, Lubo, to let you come back in, that I think Tottenham would sell Brennan for the right price, because clearly at the moment he's not getting the game time, is he, under Frank?
No, he's not, and he doesn't look like he's going to. Where's he going to play?
No, that's something at the moment. No,
Spurs are going after a left winger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kudus is on the other side.
Yeah.
You got Kulusevski coming back as well.
Yeah.
What's the future for Johnson? He needs game time. He's got playoffs coming up soon, hasn't he, for the World Cup?
Yeah. He needs to play. He needs to be playing regular game time. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Look, we'll keep an eye on that with Brennan Johnson. So, like I say, Brennan Johnson linked with a move to Crystal Palace. They're interested in a potential January transfer move. That will be dependent, however, on Spurs' stance in terms of whether they're keen to let him go, and also dependent on the situation around Ismail Assar, who Palace have been playing without. Glasner, they've already drawn the list up of targets. And remember, Glasner has made it very clear from his perspective that he wants back in this upcoming January transfer window if he's to even think about staying at Crystal Palace. Now, talking about the left wing, never a quiet moment around Spurs, and the one player that's been heavily linked with that left wing move is Antoine Semenyo. As things stand at the moment, what we're hearing is Semenyo would be very hesitant to join Tottenham, and it's believed to be far more tempted should offers arrive from Arsenal, Man City, or Liverpool. Now, from a sporting perspective, it makes sense that he would seem more significantly attractive to one of those other clubs, but just bear in mind the fact that what's being reported by Sammy Mockbell of the BBC, and again, friend of the show, is that Tottenham's financial power is growing, and that new ownership structure led by, it sounds crazy calling them the children of Joe Lewis, they are expected to make substantial funds available in the forthcoming transfer windows as they look to spark a sustained spell of success on the pitch that, barring last season's Europa League triumph, has eluded the club for such a long period. And sources have suggested that the remuneration package Tottenham are willing to offer Semenyo could be the most personally lucrative to the player, while funding the release clause will not be an obstacle. The biggest obstacle, of course, is really about where the player wants to go, and it feels that the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool and City are ahead of Tottenham in the pecking order. Lubo, we'll stick with you. Your thoughts on Antoine Semenyo. How likely or unlikely do you feel that move is, based on the fact Tottenham seems to be willing to apparently want to spend the money, but the player isn't reportedly keen on Tottenham over those other clubs? Well,
he's going to be looking at the other three as a better opportunity to win trophies. All of these players are financially independent. It's for me, it's more about the ambition. And I think with Spurs, we've got to, at some stage, make a big statement signing where a player comes to us in front of the other big clubs. Because if we don't, if this carries on, and we're picking up the best players after the top level players that the top 4 teams have already bought, we're never going to break in. So you need one statement signing, then players will look around and say, "Hey, hang on a minute, Spurs are back." Look at they just bought, and once one comes, it's like buses.
Yeah,
you get 2 or 3 in a row, and that's what we need. It's really key. Do I think we'll get Semenyo? Listen, it all depends who else comes in from in January, or does he want to leave in January, or does he want to leave it till the end of the season and then have a pick of whoever he wants? Because I'm sure we've never stretched as far as PSR FFP is concerned.
No.
Spurs have got the money to go in and buy it.
Of course, they have.
Again, it all depends. A, what the package is. B, can Frank sell the project? But most importantly, C, what other clubs are coming in.
Yeah. I mean, look, we spent 3 weeks coming over to you, Joe, in the summer chasing Semenyo to get nowhere and come out of those negotiations without no replacement at all whatsoever for Son, who we let go. It's clear we want a left winger, despite Brennan Johnson being linked away from the club. It does feel left wing is a position where Spurs want to most certainly target in this upcoming January transfer window. Joe, gut feeling for you, Antoine Semenyo, how likely do you feel it is Tottenham can convince him, given this reported interest from the bigger clubs at the moment?
How many big players of Tottenham been linked with over decades, the last couple of decades, and we don't get them. So, and the jury's out still on the I nearly said new ownership. Let's call it the ownership's new attitude post Daniel Levy. So I'm not sure if they'll get the green light on these mega marquee deals. I'm not so sure. The funny thing is, I've heard his stats are not as good now. I think people kind of must be putting 2 or 3 players on him. A very impressive player. He destroyed us at
the home game early season.
Yeah, he's interesting character because he kind of dropped out of the top academy system early doors, I believe. Yep. He ended up at Bristol, like a lower academy, and ended up playing men's football a bit earlier than he would have done. And so interestingly enough, he's able to improvise. He's kind of a bit off the cuff in the way somebody like Chrissy Waddle was. You're not quite sure what he's going to do, so it's quite unpredictable. He's a real handful. I'd love to get him, but a club that's really on it with recruitment wouldn't have Odebear and Tell clogging up that left wing as it stands, And of course, we've got Mikey Moore to come back, and he's more on the left than the right, isn't he, as well? So it's a bit like the Johnson one. It's all just rumours for now. And what I'd like is Tottenham go and sign somebody from Croatia or something who we've never really heard of, who plays on the left and is an absolute incredibly wonderful player, and it's just incredible good recruitment, a mix of stats and scouting. That's what you want, really, where we're at the moment, because I think they're going to be windy about going and signing somebody like Semenyo and offering them £375,000 a week or something, because you then got 10 angry agents all hammering at your door in the next few weeks, haven't you? So it always makes me laugh. It's all about the project, just like the music game to a lesser extent, how it used to be. And you'd hear people, well, I'm not sure it's the right record label for me, because I really need somebody that understands. Well, we give you an extra 20 grand on top. Okay, then we're fine. That's kind of how it tends to be, But it's all good. I'd be very happy if we get him, but I really wouldn't hold my breath on that one, I tell you.
Okay. I mean, Ash, bringing your thoughts on him, I feel like, Ash, me and you have done this conversation, I don't know how many times last summer, without any real success of him coming here. And look, I know a lot of people are suggesting the fact, why risk an Eze repeat? He's a big, big Arsenal fan, as we know. The reality is that the problem you've got is that even if Tottenham, again, I'm so sceptical, I think, like Jar, that is this a kind of typical ENIC stunt where they are willing to put the money up for a player that they know has got absolutely zero interest coming to Tottenham and has got his eyes on, I hate to say it, some of the bigger players out there. I mean, Ash, what's your gut feeling on Semenyo being deemed as unlikely? Do you feel that as well as a fan, that it's unlikely we can attract Semenyo to the club?
Well, I think the boat sailed personally. I think there was a time when we could have got him.
Right.
I think last summer would have been ideal. I know we did go in for him. We were rejected by 50 million, I believe. And it was between us and Manchester United.
Yep.
And I feel like we're the type of club where when these type of players come along and the big fish aren't really, they're not interested, but then we don't pay the right money to get them. We have to pay over. This is what Chelsea used to do. I'm not saying we're Chelsea, but sometimes you just have to pay over the market value at the time. It's easy to say in hindsight, like we should have paid 60 million for him or 70 million for him to get him over the line, because that's how much he is worth now in today's market. But because we went to 50 million and we stopped at 50 million, I feel like that's when we missed out on him. And I remember when we were linked with him, not this season, but the season before last, that's when he signed a new contract. It was a temporary one because I think he could have been sold for less than 40 million.
Yep.
And he signed a new one. And then again, last summer, he sold another contract on top of that because his price was just going up and up and up. So they didn't want like a Morgan Gibbs-White situation happening where, clubs could come in from him and steal him for a price which is under his actual value. So, yeah, I just think we move on from him. But whatever the target is, if it becomes another Semenyo, we need to look for players. If they're not gettable at the price that, we think we could get them at, we need to be paying a little bit over. So, for example, Ndai, everyone's talking about Ndai.
Iliman
Ndai is an alternative because, yes, he has played on a right wing predominantly this season, but the season before they got Grealish, he was predominantly on the left wing. And he's also played attacking midfield. So that kind of ticks all of our boxes because we want a player that can play across the front line. So if, for example, Everton bought him for 20 to 25 million from Sheffield United, and we said, all right, we're going to offer you guys 40 million, Everton turn around and say no, then I think Spurs should go, all right, we'll offer you 47 plus add-ons to like 50 million. They say no again. Let's really test it. That money we're going to slap down for Semenyo, like if you look at the stats, they're quite comparative, if not better, in favour for Ndai, from Everton. So why not pay the extra money and get someone like him who's proven, he's got the experience and the numbers and the stats add up as well. And in terms of like, we're talking about explosiveness, touch tight, 1v1 ability to combine with others, someone that knows where the back of the net, he's all three of those. So the argument there is, for me, why not just go for a player like that? And then when you're ready, you can still have time to bring in your Mikey Moores, for example, because their stunt wouldn't stunt their growth, because remember, you've got Ndai who can play in multiple positions. Do you know what I mean? Ndai can go left wing, Mikey Moore could still play as an attacking mid if need be, or vice versa. Do you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be blocking a pathway, essentially, because you've got a player that is multifaceted, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, like I say, I agree with you, Ash. Iliman Ndai, very, very talented. And I think, these are kind of players, like you say there, Spurs have got to be looking for. And like Jar mentioned about some of the Croatian players, I mean, we've had some wonderful Croatian players over the last decade, right? The likes of Modric, Kranjčar. I mean, some special players.
I wish we still had bloody Perisic. I'm angry about the way he went. He was a decent player. But you're totally right about Ndai. That I know a few Evertonians, and they absolutely rave about him, and they know their footballers. That's a very good call. I just don't see Tottenham, because they've got Kulu, the Kulu to come back. You've got Kudus, you've got Muani who can play wide. I'm not sure they'd go for someone like him. I think Semenyo, just as a sort of marquee signing, would be probably more likely. And I don't think Everton would let him go. I think it would cause. They know it would cause too much grief with the fans.
Mid-season it would, wouldn't it? I think mid-season it would. I think maybe at the end of the season you got a chance. But I even think with Semenyo, one thing to bear in mind with Semenyo is that release clause. I think, from my understanding, is I think you can get him at a certain price in the opening period of the January transfer window. And I think from midway through the price rockets up. So I think, or I might be wrong, although or maybe the release clause is only valid for a certain period of time, similar to the Eze saga that we went through in the summer. It was valid for a certain period of time.
Liverpool's going to be in for him, I would have thought, with the Salah situation, so, and he'd probably rather go there or Arsenal, unless you offer a lot of money, and then the agents start saying, well, do you know what? I think Tottenham could be the future, I think it's a great project. I really do, honestly, mate, so that's what you hope anyway, but that's the only way they're getting.
All about the project. Look, we're going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. We have got over 3,500 that are watching us live. As always, guys, thank you ever so much for your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. Top tier panel on this one. We're joined by Lubo from the Spurs 5. We're joined by musician Joel Wobble, looking comfortable than ever on Last Word on Spurs.
I've come back. I'm off the back of a long old tour. I deserve every bit of rest. I get a bit under the weather as well. Not that I moan. Not everyone will tell you, my band, my wife, I never moan. I just get on with it. That's what they all tell you.
We had a cracking catch-up, me and John, in the earlier part of the week. Brilliant conversation. If only that was broadcastable, I'm not sure it would be part of it.
Basically, in a nutshell, was Britain's fucked. That was my view. Having been all around the continent again, and Ireland, and it's not exactly booming in them places. I tell you what, we are well depressed, mate. We are well depressed,
We're also joined by the wonderful Ash over at Spurs Kings TV. Look, before we get on to the second half of the show, there are suggestions. And again, like we keep saying this, we're going to get more and more of these rumours as we do get closer to January. Tottenham are, alongside other clubs, interested in the RB Leipzig player, Jan Diomande. I know Ash has been a big fan of him, raved about him on Last Word on Spurs. Look, there's no concrete or advanced talks at the moment. However, a move after the World Cup is possible, and Leipzig would consider bids of over 100 million euros for him. Right. Before we come over to Forest, guys in the conversation, you want to get involved in the live chat, you can. If you hit that subscribe button, that will allow you to interact with the live chat we've got here. And like I say, everybody out there, if you can continue for us to hit like, subscribe, hype to the show, that would be greatly appreciated. I have to go to Lubo on this because I feel like it's Lubo's specialist subject. Daniel Levy, Lubo. We can't get away with Lubo doing anything on Daniel Levy on this. There's been a report that's come out actually from Bloomberg that are suggesting that an accounting review is underway into Daniel Levy's long tenure as part owner and custodian, according to the people familiar with the matter. Now, the review by the Lewis Family Trust is understood to cover all commercial aspects of the Premier League Football Club's operation, including how sponsorship agreements were structured. And one person said they spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss private information. This decision signals a further deterioration in the relationship between Levy and the ownership group. And Levy was instrumental, of course, as we know, despite what everyone says about him, engineering, of course, the 25-year period where he did build the training ground and the stadium, but we can't get away from it. As Spurs fans, the lack of on-pitch success has, of course, been the driver for a lot of Tottenham fans, including us, to really ramp up those protests against him. Nubo, what do you make of that report and the timing of it? Would you read much into that for you?
It'll be very interesting to see if anything comes out of it. The fact that they sort of moved in, asked him to leave the building immediately, leave his keys, and they sent all his personal belongings onto him. For me, showed that obviously they're not going to be sitting around the dinner table on Christmas Day together, are they? But what will transpire will be interesting. I think that that they could be looking into situations, issues like why there hasn't been a trade, why there hasn't been a naming rights deal. If you look conservatively at 20 million a year, we're 6-7 years down the line, that's 140 million. That's a lot of money. That's, you look at Everton have got one straight away, albeit not as much as that. But the point is they moved in with a deal. Arsenal moved in with a deal, which is still going on, I think. Why didn't we? Spurs are a big club. Why didn't we get naming rights? That's something that I've never quite understood. And it's, you talk about it, 7 years at, say, 20 million. 140 million is big money. So that's just one issue. I'm sure there'll be other. There must be other situations that they're looking at.
What do you make of that, Lubo, very quickly? This suggestion here from Spurs Insight TV, who says, this review is another way of saying, Mr. Levy, we want your shares at a fair price, or do you buy that?
Possibly.
Mm.
There's that could be a good shout as well.
Yeah.
Just to get him out of the building. If you're running a business and you've got a partner who's been involved, who's now no longer involved, but still has a substantial shareholding, it's obviously it can't be an ideal situation. So I'm sure they want him out, away from the club and clean. ASAP. And it just makes life a bit easier, doesn't it? For the new regime, there's been so much change at the club, so many new people coming in, that that's what they want. Out with the old, in with the new. In effect, hopefully we're starting again, because for me, you know how I feel about the Levy regime for 25 years. They've diminished our club. I'm talking about making a statement signings in front of big clubs. We used to be that club. We used to buy, Klinsmann came, Ozzy and Ricky came, Teddy and Darren Anderton came, Gaza came, Waddle came. These were all big players, but going back 60 odd years, 99, just under 100 grand for Greaves, 200 grand was the transfer fee record for Martin Peters. Gaza was 2.2 million. I think that was a record as well. And since ENIC came in, we hardly come in we hardly get these players. Bale was bought at 5 million. You look at the world class players. Bale cost 5 million. He was developed. Modric was 15 million. He got better and better. Kane's come through the academy. Van der Vaart's probably the last big name that we've bought, and the last big player that we bought from a top club, I think, was Robbie Keane when we bought him back from Liverpool.
Mm.
So, it's about time for us. We need top players to start competing and not finishing the fourth, fifth, sixth, which is what Levy set the club up to do. So that he kept the fans in the ground, he kept merchandise selling, food and beverage selling. He kept the fans, the tickets were selling it, and he kept the fans on board because we were there. We were that close, weren't we? And Pochettino pulled off a miracle to get us to Madrid. That was an absolute miracle, because that team peaked in 2017 and was on the way down, as we saw the following year after Madrid. And unfortunately with Madrid, that gave the fans unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. One thing I will just say quickly on this report that's being suggested is that while there's no indication of any wrongdoing, the review is looking to whether player and commercial contracts and payments were fairly valued. One of the people said it's being led by the executive management, supported by the legal counsel from Dickinson Minto, according to another person. It follows a review earlier this year from the US management consultancy Gibb River before Levy's exit. Representatives for the Lewis family, Dixon Minto, Levy and Tottenham are all declined to comment at this time. And again, we'll see how that does transpire and what to bring to you. In other news, before we come on to, Forest in general, Thomas Frank has held his press conference ahead of the game. Ash will bring you in. Dominic Solanke, we've had a slight update. Bearing in mind, Solanke went onto social media before the press conference. I can see Jar is shouting to get back in. What did you want to say, Jar? Go for it. We're fighting over the mute button. Hold on, Jar. Go for it. We might need Jar to unmute. You unmute for us, Jar.
You didn't let me ever talk about Daniel Levy. You're not nervous, are you, Ricky? I might say something that get everyone in trouble.
Go on, Jar.
You know what I think? I'll tell you what I think now. Don't worry. No, I better keep your mouth shut. No, I think all businesses at some point, at various points, will have audits. You could read anything into it, And one thing you have to say, that the club, we are a club on a par with the creme de la creme, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, but we're up there. We're one of the magical clubs. We're a huge club. Yeah. As Lubo said, we've just been so diminished on the playing field. It's apart from that little spell with Pochettino, and They need to do an audit, really get and actually what the audit should be, apart from financial, is Tottenham are a fucking massive club. Start fucking acting like it. That's your fucking audit. That's your audit. If you want to know where we are, that's where we're fucking at. We've waited far too long. I'm 67. I'm terrified I'm going to die not having seen us win the league. We should be dominating British football and European football, this club. Seriously. Look how many come out for that Euro final. We're a fucking massive, wonderful, magical club. But one thing with the audit, you can't, I mean, the one thing Levy did was manage to, have big profits, right? So I wouldn't have thought, and they were the people that employed him. So, I wouldn't have thought there's anything to sort of, to moan about there. They got the money. So now the audit, you find out where all your pieces are on the board and you crack on. And the audit, as I say, the balance book is we're severely deficient in the glory stakes, and this is Tottenham. Shouldn't be the case. Sorry to be such an angry man.
No, yeah. Actually, you make his point clear enough. I'm not sure everyone got the point John was making here, were they?
We're a big club. We're a big fucking club, mate. What are you talking about?
It's a big club. The audit is, actually, we've just looked at this battlefield and we're a massive club. Let's start acting like one.
And so Simon in the comments, I don't need to wake up at 2:00 saying we're a big club. I know we're a big club.
Lubo, thank you so much. I can't believe that anyone was terrified of me thinking what jar might come out of his mouth. Brennan Johnson's been on the show for the last 4 years. We've definitely tolerated it and loved it for that period. Look, we do need to bring in Nottingham Forest. We're going to come to Ash with regards to Solanke. Solanke back on the grass, Ash, but no indication right now as to when he'll be back in a Tottenham shirt. What have you made of Frank being very cryptic about Solanke's return? Because
what it is?
There's a lot of suggestions that if he was honest to begin with, we might not be in this situation where we're constantly trying to chase for updates.
Yeah, you know what it is? If he says it like, yeah, he's ready to come back, and then he has another setback, that's his pie in his face. Fans are going to be angry and upset. And remember, Kulusevski said, it was just a knock. Do you remember that? When Andrew was like, yeah, it's just a knock.
We haven't seen him since.
Oh, look where we are now. Kulusevski's still not here. So I think you have to be a bit cryptic to kind of save your peace of mind. Even he's like swearing. He's like, shit, man. I swear he said shit.
Yeah, he
did it.
Yeah,
he's had it up to here.
Shit.
He's like, I'm not used to this twice a day.
He's only been in for a few months.
Yeah, he's had enough already, man. He's losing it. Soon he's gonna come in with a leather jacket, hair half purple. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna just go crazy. But I think it's just them being sensible now. And there was a choice which was maybe the wrong choice in hindsight, because he obviously opted for injections and physio and thought that would be enough, and he would be healing him up because it's only like an ankle injury, However, it backfired. He should have waited it out. He should have done the sensible thing and just done surgery. And then because he tried to play for it for RB all right, he's obviously stepped on it, re-injured it, made it worse. And then now he's had to go to surgery. And because he's had to do surgery, he's, it's a bit longer. But then obviously he's done the picture and he's just gassed everyone up. So everyone's like, raw.
Yeah,
is he back? He's done the loading thing on his Instagram, on the social media. So that's kind of made the journals say, look, we've got a story here.
Yeah. Now we've got to ask him. Now we've got to ask him.
Even the fans now, they're like, right, is he back? Because obviously we've got Richarlison, Mwani's not scoring in the Prem. Even though we like him, you just want your striker, the main striker. He spent 60 million to be back and things to come together. But look, it is what it is at the moment. He's not. We don't know how long he's going to be, and that's why Frank had to be, clever. And Kulusevski, like I said before, he's not putting up no pictures, thank goodness, because if he put up a picture, then we'd be talking about Kulusevski being back. Madison's doing the most at the moment, going on Sky Sports, saying he's itching to come back and this and that. I understand they're footballers, so he's clearly saying he missed the game. He's like, I missed the game. I want to play under the new gaffer. I want to play under the new manager. I want to see what it's like. I've got people criticizing me, saying, have I still got it? Am I a goal scorer? I'm a goal scorer midfielder. I've always been a goal scorer midfielder. So he said when Roy Keane was coming at me and I threw the dart, it's because I've had that all through my career. That's what drives me as a footballer. So I would understand, there's been so much rumors, I won't even get into it, about our striker. You know,
Oh, Solanke, yeah, there has been a lot of
Solanke,
rumors.
yeah. So
Yeah,
but I won't even get into that. But so maybe he's trying to like silence the critics as well on his side.
You won't, but I think Jar probably will.
But yeah, I totally get it. Like, and also Frank actually did say to us, like, he's coming back, guys. He's on schedule. He's he's on schedule, and they've re-asked him again because of this.
I love the fact. Who knows what on schedule means in the world of Tottenham when it comes to an injury update?
Yesterday's schedule, was it 3 days?
Do we even have a schedule? Do you have a medical department? I need to bring Jar in and go to Lubo. Just before I do, let me just bring you up to date with what Thomas Frank has said in that press conference. There is no fresh injuries picked up in the midweek Champions League fixture against Slavia Prague. So everybody is back in contention. Brennan Johnson is expected to be available for the trip to his old stomping ground after training with the squad following a minor injury. As Ash just mentioned there, Dominic Solanke posted an hourglass emoji on social media. Frank was asked to provide another update in which he said he's back on the grass and training individually. The injury he picked up in July has dragged on for a while. When he's training fully and available for selection, then I will say something. He also said it's really good to have Ben Davies back out on the pitch on Tuesday playing his first minutes. He also went on to say that when asked about the club's form changing around, he said wins and good performances always help, no doubt about that. It makes things lighter and more positive. It's an ongoing effort to constantly improve at the minute. And he went on to say it's not down to one simple thing. All those things are players in terms of being in form and around the same period. It's about relationships, principles and patterns of play, and I can assure you they are getting better and better. Frank praised the very talented Archie Gray. Lubo will be pleased to hear. He said he's back in a place where he's ready to compete again after the calf injury, and he has a great capacity to cover the pitch and has good pressing skills and has a very good character and could be a leader in the future for this team. We'll go to Jar first on the team news. Jar, coming over to you. Forest, I've not really had a chance to ask anybody here at the moment with regards to Frank. We've been unbeaten in 3. Jar, have we turned a corner going to Forest on Sunday, or is that a real acid test for us at the City Ground?
No, they're all massive games, aren't they, in the Prem, and it's Tottenham, so every game's massive. It's all like cup finals, basically. I was really happy with the Newcastle results, and a lot of Spurs fans say, but we didn't play well, this, that and the other. We showed absolute character. I'm delighted with the way Romero stepping forward as a leader this year. You know, it's fantastic. I saw I watched it on my phone at Birkenhead, waiting to get on the ferry. Then I watched it on the bar, on a boat, and I went absolutely mental. I thought it was a subdued, you know, because it's late at night, people trying to sleep, and I jumped. Apparently I woke every fucker up and went roaring around the bar when it went in. I went fucking mental. I was watching with my drummer. He's not a football fan.
I can't believe that. You're fairly calm on it. I don't believe that.
And he said to me, "You're going to come back here." I said, "We fucking won't. Fucking till we fucking fucking VAR, because that fucking decision." And then the overhead kick, and that's what apparently I was saying. I fucking overhead kick. I fucking overhead kick from the fucking centre half. You know, it's fantastic. Very happy with that. You know, the whole thing against Slavia, I thought was really, really solid as well. Superb, you know. So yeah, I really think it's a solid. So we're not gonna compete against the Arsenals and the Chelseas. But we all know you can't have an XG of -27 or whatever the fuck we had. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, because Thomas Frank, it's like, mate, we will give you time, but you got to do better than that, son. You know. And it looks like Xavi's finally coming good, but you know he's which we need. He's the only guy who can unlock the defence, so he's crucial at the moment. And I was delighted with the tackle, you know, for that second goal. Fucking hell, you know, was amazing. You know, like he's showing some real drive and spite. So that's it. That's what we need. You know, I like spiteful players. Romero's spiteful. It's good to see Xavi just get a bit spiteful. I always like the spiteful players, the players who leave their foot in, you know, a bit nasty, a bit of an edge to them. So it's all good. And I bet you if Johnson scores a couple of goals against his old club if he's fit, and then we'll all be saying, you know, he's the one who's got to be the first name on the team sheet. Wouldn't surprise me, you know. Yeah. So I think everything's up for grabs. But my feeling is genuinely it's coming together down there in fits and starts. Even earlier on in the season, you could see some of the passages of play. It was developing the way what he wanted. But it's always difficult in the Premier League when you come up against Arsenal and Chelsea, and we've got that psychological blockage against them. I mean, they are two fucking disgusting clubs, aren't they? They fucking disgust me, those two clubs. They really do. I went to the away game against Chelsea with Luvo. You finally, very kindly, sorted me out tickets.
I've apologised a lot for that. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, I asked for it and I went, and I've seen us get came there a lot. But we've got to do. In those games, you just got to find a way. But a lot of it's got a psychological thing. And I think now they're battling and they're growing together. It's good to see he's put Gray in there. It looks. I think he really understands the dynamic of a squad. I think this is the first manager we've had for a long time who doesn't really have favourites. You know, I think he's got that training as a teacher, which, by the way, I've got. I trained as a teacher in lockdown and qualified. I should just add that. So I know what I'm talking about with lesson plans and all that caper, you know. I've done it so I could do the me community thing. Nobody could say, you haven't got the right to teach a load of people. Well, I fucking have. You've got me certificate, you know. So I have. So get to the back, get out the class now, you know.
No, did you put the Gooners on the naughty step? In the corner.
I tell you what. I would definitely, if I was in control of the team, I would definitely have more than fines. You know, I would have a military style fitness guy, and it would be cruel, you know, unusual punishments. Lots, you know, ice baths, lots of push-ups and being run to exhaustion. If you're seen to bottle out of a tackle, you know, you find £100,000, and you've got to do 700 press-ups every day for a week or something at the training ground, out in the open, out in the snow, whatever. Toughen them up. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned. I don't know, you know. But no, I like it. I like this guy. I like Frank. I like him. I still resent him for his boyish hair. I resent him for his hair. But I think he's good. Sorry, Lubo, what was you saying, mate?
No, listen, there's a great book you should read, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's go down really well.
Oh, we'll have to have a look at that. Yeah, you know.
So after all that, John,
I'm only joking. I know if you said one of these prima donna players had to do 700 press-ups in the snow, you'd have a really upset agent on the phone immediately. You know, so I know that's how it works, unfortunately, you know.
So at the moment, John, from what you're seeing with Frank, we're very firmly in the
Frank. I just think he's a likeable guy. I reserve the right to change my mind, and I do. You know, I'm as bad as any of us, but I like him. I like the squad. There's not one of the players I don't like. I look at Arsenal. Who's that right back? White. What's his name? The one who don't like football. The one from Brighton.
Ben White.
Ben White. Yeah. Ben White. Absolute tosser. Imagine having a son like that. You know. But no, it's just maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe he's a nice person. I just look at him. I don't like the look of them. Any of the Arsenal players. I look at the manager. And he's got that kind of Lego head, you know, and it's just very highly strung, you know. And I still think it could go wrong for them, you know, basically, you know. But that White, he was interfering with Vicario. I think he was being a funny cunt, wasn't he, with Vicario at the corner kick and all that. And you know, I personally, if I was the keeper, I would have my own way of dealing with something like that, you know. But,
so just so we're clear on Jar's views, definitely Franking, absolutely 100% with you stand. Lubo, let's come over to you. Big game at the City Ground on Sunday. Need to see a performance, don't we? I mean, go there, get 3 points. Won't be easy. Frank was saying about the fact, you know, any Sean Dyche team, difficult to go to. And if we're going to go there, it'll be extremely difficult to pick up 3 points. But he has confidence and belief in the camp to go there, given our away form in the Premier League.
Yeah, funny talking about this last night. You got Gibbs White and Elliot Anderson in midfield for Forest.
Yeah.
So, you know, midfield is going to be absolutely key. But just look at Frank last season, played a long ball over the top for Visser and Sade and then Bumo to run onto. And they killed Forest 3-1 at the City Ground. Just wonder if he's going to play that tactic again on Sunday. Listen, it's going to be hard. I fancy Spurs but it's going to be a tougher game than the last two have been. That's for sure.
It's going to be really, really tough. I mean, Ash, come over to you. Forest away. Obviously, we're being reunited around the whole Gibbs White saga. There wasn't, obviously, there's no Ange Postecoglou reunion for this. There's no Nuno Espirito reunion for this. Frank versus Dyche, two very good friends that we hear behind the scenes. How tough will it be up there, Ash, do you feel, in terms of the game and how you see it playing out? Because I think, if we're going to be honest about it, this is going to be a battle, isn't it, up there? Very similar, I think, to like the Everton game under David Moyes. It won't be easy there. And I do think that we are going to rely a lot, personally, on set pieces, dead ball situations, if we are to go there and get a result, Ash.
Do you know what? Regardless of the result, and obviously we do need a result, I'm not looking past that. I still think it's the style of play that matters the most here. Do you know what I mean? If we have like a draw, but we are on the front foot, I think fans will start to get behind it, start to believe it. Because I feel like fans are saying, looking at him, Brentford, because he was Brentford, he knew that club inside out, and that's the only reason why we got the points there. Slavia, who? Saliva Prague. Like, that's a dead team. That's not even a Champions League team. So I think against Forest, if he's on the front foot and he approaches the game in the right way, because we do have good players. Like, let's have it right. We do have Xavi. He's a good player. Kudus, he's another top player as well.
I also think Lubo's right, Ash. They've also got some good players, Forest. They've got some very good players.
Yeah, Forest have got good players. But I think if we show them too much respect, and I think that's been the issue at the moment, where Frank's being given a lot of these players, a lot of these teams, like ammo to come and attack us. Do you know what I mean? Rather than us controlling the game, controlling our fate, getting at them, showing them that we are Spurs, that we're Tottenham, we're the bigger club here. Look, you have to respect your opponent, but at the same time, you don't want to play into their hands, no, but you need to play to your own strengths. That's how I see it. It's as simple as that. So I won't even get into the numbers, the stats, whatever. I won't talk about Frank's record against Daesh and the low blocks, how we prefer to play against, teams that like to come at us, etc., blah, blah, blah. But I just think, if we are positive, we've got two strong centre-backs in Mickey van der Ven and Romero. Yeah. And so that should allow us to kind of squeeze the pitch a little bit more and play in their half and play front foot. For me, Spence as well, I think he's been, really good. I like the fact that he's sometimes playing out wide, but more time he's in the middle of the park and he's making those late runs into the box. We've seen it with Xavi doing it, but I think a lot of those Forest players will look at him as a target and they will try to, pin him down. But I think players like Spence, box crashing, even Archie Gray, sometimes carrying the ball. So those third man runs are very important in my opinion. And that could be the difference. If we commit more bodies forwards, we can break down whatever they have. And equally, we should be able to defend the transitions because I think that's where they're most dangerous. And when Lubo's talked about Anderson's going to get on the ball. He's going to want to hit those wings, going to want to hit switch it out to either Ndoye or, I don't know, whoever their left winger is. He's going to want to hit those flanks. Do you know what I mean? So I just think Spurs should have enough if we are front-footed to kind of put these teams away.
Fingers crossed. I'm going to go to... I'm going to terrifyingly unmute Jar to start the predictions. Before I do, in terms of the two sides at the moment, I'm more concerned about what prediction Jar might give us more than actually anything else he's going to say. Bless his heart. I love him on this show. Sean Dyche has steadied the ship. You have to be said at Forest. They've overseen 6 wins, 2 draws, and just 3 losses in the first 11 games under his reign. At Tottenham, they have double the amount of points Forest do on the road. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. Jar, you're going to kick us off. Love to see you back on the show. What are we going for, Jar, from your end?
3-0 to Tottenham.
Clean sheet?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I probably will need to be nutted off for saying that. I've probably said some horrible things, even too strong, maybe tonight. Sorry about that if I've offended anybody. But I think we're going to get 3 goals. I say 3-1.
Don't worry about it. I'll pick up the pieces. Don't worry about it. I'll pick up the pieces.
I'll say 3-1 to Tottenham. And I think Johnson will come. I think he'll come off the bench and score if he's fit.
Superb. I'm just very quickly, Jar. We are going to try and bring you back with us very, very soon on this platform. We love you having you on here. Tour-wise, anything you want to update on the tour very quickly?
No, I've done. We've done ton of shows. Been all over Germany, Belgium, Holland, Ireland, France. We're all over the shop. So up to Scotland and everything's been fantastic. But no, I'm done now, mate. I've just got a couple of football dues to go to. and I'm relaxing. I haven't got any more shows now until the end of January, but everyone's welcome. Even Arsenal and Chelsea fans, it's all a laugh. It's all a bit of banter.
Right, steady on. I think you're going a bit modest,
Mate,
didn't you?
Yeah, well, as long as they try and live by the sword with me with the banter, then they get it back, But it's all the fun in it. It's all football.
Jar, you're a diamond. The viewers and lovers love you. I'm not sure the younger audience do, but we'll get them used to the colourful choice of language for certain. You've been a superstar. Thank you so much. Love you very much as always. The wonderful Jar Wobble in the house. Jar, thank you so much. Ash,
thank you.
Pleasure, mate. Ash, we're going to see more of you as we build up to January. Ash, what are we going for at the weekend?
I don't think it'll be an easy game, but I still would like to hope that, Spurs can get another win and we've turned the corner.
Oh, sorry, Ash. Carry on. Sorry,
Ash. Yeah. No, that's cool. 2-1. I'm going to go for 2-1. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to back my team and say Spurs 2, Forest 1, away win. Get the job done anyhow.
Ash, you've been a star. Thank you so much. Laughter and love as always on this show. Always when Ash is here, his face tells the story of what is going on in these shows. Ash, thank you so much. Lubo, thank you so much. A lot of this show, I've got to say, that Lubo was nodding along to Jar, and then Jar was letting expletives go, and Lubo was looking at me. I was looking at Lubo thinking, where are we going to go in this next 5-10 minutes?
I'm a bad influence, Lubo. I'm sorry, mate.
That's all the years of being stuck in the away-ins, going to Stamford Bridge, what it's done to him. And Luke, what are we going for at the weekend?
A tight 2-1 win for Spurs.
A tight 2-1 win for Spurs.
Yeah.
Superb. Listen, it's going to be a busy period for Spurs, as we know. The games are coming thick and fast. Lubo's back on Sunday night with us to review it. Let's hope we're seeing a Spurs win. Ash is back with us soon. Jar is back with us soon. Before he probably knows how quick he's going to be, he'll be back with us. From the wonderful musician, Jar Wobble. Jar, thank you so much. From Ash over at Spurs Kings, thank you. From Lubo at the Spurs Fire, thank you. And yes, I'm twitching away. I'm not sure what's coming next. From Jar, from Ash, from Lubo, from me. We've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you.